Anthony Totera here on Touchline, and right now we are with Paul Varian of the Oakville Soccer Club. Paul, what an honor it is for the Oakville Soccer Club to win the Gold Award. A lot of people talk about your club in numbers, and to me, I think you need to talk a little bit more about the quality and the work a lot of the volunteers are doing, Paul. A lot of people have put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this club to be number one in numbers over the years, but also producing as well. Talk about that.
Well, you said it, Anthony, in terms of we have 1,500 volunteers plus who make our club work. And we've spent a lot of time the last couple of years in particular building a new technical plan and making sure that all our players can be developed to the best of their abilities. We have a slogan, advancing every player. And that can mean whatever really it means for the specific player involved. It may be the next Diana Matheson. It might be a kid who is very shy and doesn't participate in sport, wanting to come out and play, as opposed to sitting with a bag of chips and not being involved in any physical activity whatsoever. So at Oakville, we try and make sure that all of our close to 13,000 players have the opportunity to advance themselves, whether that's through technical advancement or this advancement of themselves as a person. So we have great coaches, over 900 coaches, over 300 referees, as I said, 1,500 volunteers and a dedicated staff and board that make that happen every day.
You've got some great coaches, people that I know personally, Eddie Berdusco, Dino Lopez, Rafa Carbajal. These are people that are very passionate, Paul, but knowledgeable. And these are the type of people that are making your club so strong and winning the Gold Award. But talk a little bit about your men's program. With all honesty, Paul, you know that your women's program is top-notch across this country. We know that. You've produced that. But a lot of people have taken knocks at Oakville, Paul, because of they're not producing enough great young men's talent out there at the national level or even at the provincial level. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, we have the same approach, Anthony, to men's or women's soccer right now. Our technical development plan is the same philosophy for men's and women's soccer. You're right, we have had success with some of our women's players, particularly Caroline, Diana Mathis, and so on. But we have had some success with our top men's players. Junior Hollett was in our program, young Evan James, Kyle Becker. These are guys who are coming through now. The men's 23s program are out of our club. So what we intend to do is make sure that we can ensure that the kids, when they are age 8 to 12 in particular, get the very best of training they can possibly have, not just in the summer, but through 12 months of the year, through the top coaching potential that we can possibly offer. So a year or so ago, we had no National A-level coaches at Oakville Soccer Club. Now we have 9 National A or equivalent coaches under the leadership of Jason DeVos and Rafa Carbajal and others like you mentioned, people like Dino and Eddie, and wonderful coaching staff that we have, 29 professional part-time or full-time coaches now coaching our men's and women's programs and girls and boys programs. So we think over time, Anthony, it's a matter of time before Oakville will start producing these players, both in the men's and women's program, but we see our role as making sure that there's a constant stream of top players, whether they're good boys or girls, coming through who have the skills and capabilities to be the best players possible.
You mentioned the word your role in this province. I've got to be honest, Paul. Your club is the jewel of this province and of this country. Not only because of the numbers, but I think because of the fact that it started out so small and it grew in so many great strides. That right now, your club has to have a huge voice locally, nationally, and has to be heard. Are you being heard from your club at the provincial level, at the national level? Because you're big in numbers.
Well, yes. I mean, we try to make sure we advocate for things that are in the interests of Ontario and Canadian soccer. And the presentation I gave today at this conference, we mentioned that when it comes to long-term player development, a key component of it is competition reform and making sure that the kids, regardless of how they're coached inside a club or academy environment, when they go out to participate in competition, that is also embracing the principles of LTPD. And we've been very vocal about that. Jason DeVos, our technical director, as you know, has been championing and spearheading a lot of the competition reform that we've seen that was announced today. We've been a big advocate of what Peel Halton Soccer Association is doing in creating their new Peel Halton Development League, where promotion, relegation, and standings, and that's all removed, and embracing what needs to be done. And we have a very strong voice and a respectful voice with our national governing bodies, both at district, provincial, and national level. And I think, Anthony, what we try to do is contribute to what's needed without being disrespectful or adversarial with our national governing bodies, because they have a tough job to do and they rely on clubs like ourselves, and all 650 of them in Ontario have a role to play. But we need to be constructive about that, not destructive, and that's what we try to do.
Well said. The last question is this, Paul. I don't know if anyone's ever posed it to you, but again, being the biggest club in numbers and also having so many demands for your teams to play on fields that aren't in the best of shape, many of them are, but many of them aren't, wouldn't it be appropriate for your club to look at how viable it might be in going to the town of Oakville and asking them to build a little stadium of a 3,000 seat stadium for Oakville because of the numbers of kids you have there. And again, it would be so ideal, not just for your club, but for maybe having some big competitions there as well.
Well, one of the secrets of the success of the club, I'd love to say it was all down to Oakville Soccer Club, but a huge part of it has been the relationship we have with our municipality, the town of Oakville. They've been absolutely tremendous in ensuring we have the facilities and the priority usage on the facilities to run our programs effectively. So we have a very strong partnership with the town. There's been discussions about a facility like what you described for quite a while, as I understand it. But the problem with that is we don't have the spectatorship to support such a facility. Facilities like that need tenants, and consistent tenants that can consistently bring several thousand people to watch soccer. We're starting to explore how we can expand spectator value at games. Our celebrity event that we're running on the 5th of July, we hope will have significant numbers of people to watch that event and other events like it. But until we can see and until we can convince the town of Oakville that there's a need for us to consistently fill a stadium with 2,000 to 3,000 people, it's not something we're going to ask the town to build. But as soon as it does, we'll start that discussion with them, and we have a strong enough relationship with them that they would listen.
I understand where you're coming from, but to close it out, you're a taxpayer. Many of them are in your club, and they have voices, and they need to be heard from the town of Oakville. And if that means building your club a top-notch facility of 1,000, 2,000 seat stadium, so be it. It should be done because you guys are putting a ton of money into the club and into the town of Oakville.
Yes, and as I say, Anthony, if we went to the town and said we need it, they would listen to us. But right now, as it stands, we don't have the games or the fixtures that would require a facility that would have spectatorship of that nature. What's probably more needed for us is indoor space so we can train in the winter. We already have a wonderful 100,000 square foot indoor facility at Pine Glen, but there's probably more need for winterized training facilities in Ontario at large than stadia that can be used for spectator events. Hopefully one day we'll be in a position where we need that facility, and I have no doubt that when we do need it, the town of Oakville will listen to us. But right now we're not asking for it because we don't see the demand.
Paul, well done to all the volunteers, all the people of Oakville Soccer Club, not just yourself, but there's so many that you can't mention. Congratulations to you and your club. And again, what an honor it is to get the gold medal.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the OSA for extending our gold standard in club excellence. We're very humbled by it, and we'll wear it with pride. Thank you.
And thank you, and thanks for joining us here on Touchline.